Okay, so um today I want to talk about breast cancer in black women. Um just to jump right in, um black women, even though they are half as likely to develop breast cancer compared to the general population, they're twice as likely to die from it. Um Now, when you try to figure out why, or ask a medical professional why that is, like, they always kind of, or in my experience, it's kind of one of those things they don't like to talk about. They don't have a problem saying that black women have the highest death rates from cancer, just like they don't have a problem saying that black women have the highest rates of sarcoidosis or fibroids or things like that. Like, they don't have a problem talking about the fact that black women are suffering in large numbers due to a certain disease, but when it's time to talk about the why or how do we fix it, they want to change the subject usually. Or in my experience, I've never met a physician that could talk about it, that wanted to talk about it. So tonight I'm going to kind of go into a little bit about that. If you haven't subscribed, please do. Also, if you have anything to add or anything that you want to mention or any questions for me, then please comment. Please send me a message. Um, I'll try to get to you as soon as possible. But to continue what I was saying, um, there may be a number of factors associated with why black women die at a higher rate from breast cancer than other groups of women. Now, what a smart mouth or an a physician that really wants to kind of play mind games might say, to somebody who asked that question, is, that black women are usually the ones to develop the most aggressive form of breast cancer, which is the triple negative kind, which there's very, very recent evidence to suggest that that's the case. um Initially, there they didn't really, that wasn't really the consensus as to why black women have higher rates of breast cancer. I feel like the oldest article I found suggesting that it was because of the triple negative rates. The oldest article I could find was like from 2014. So I don't know, but the even if that's the case, um still, why did it get, there's still a process with breast cancer. It's not just like, even with triple negative breast cancer, if you find it in time, if you find it soon enough to resect it and get it out, it's not a problem. Like, even if it is aggressive, like, if you find it in time, or, if you do a accurate, thorough patient history and an accurate, thorough physical exam, and if black women are allowed, were, had the resources to get to the doctor regularly, and, um establish a good relationship with a doctor that actually cares about them, those rates would not be that high. And that goes for all breast cancers, because there are white women who develop triple negative breast cancer, but even like, I think I read a study that, even, like, regardless of what breast cancer you have, if you're white, you're more likely to survive it, and if you are black, you're less likely to survive it. So that doesn't have anything to do with what type of breast cancer it is. I will say that a third of black people, literally a third of all of us, live in poverty. And that right there is a problem. When you live in poverty, and this is something that a lot of people don't understand, when you live in poverty, you don't have the same access to healthcare as somebody who does not live in poverty. Even and then okay, well, okay, there are people, there's, 2/3 of black people don't live in poverty. Of that 2/3, most of that 2/3 is kind of right above the poverty line. Like they're kind of, I wouldn't even say middle class. Like they're just enough to not get food stamps, or they're making just enough to not get, uh any type of governmental benefits, which that's hard to live on. Like, when you just make just enough to not get any help, um it's it's kind of hard to deal with. And that's not to suggest that, black people in poverty always get the assistance that they need from the government. 60% of all welfare recipients are white. So it's not like it's something that's guaranteed to you when you're a black person living in poverty, that you'll get the assistance that, and a lot of that assistance does not include health insurance and does not include any type of health care packages or anything. So that doesn't even help your ability to get to a doctor regularly to be screened, or you know get treatment if you find a lump or something. Like it doesn't automatically mean that you have increased access to healthcare just because you're on welfare. That's also another misconception. That, well, not a misconception, because a lot of the non-black doctors in the field know that that's not an automatic. They know, and they know the implications of being a black person, and especially being a black person in poverty, has on health. They know these things. All doctors kind of know it. We're kind of forced to learn it. Um, but so they know these things. They just don't want to. It's not something that they're okay with talking about, or okay with coming to a solution with. Um, but yeah, so I say the main thing causing black women to die from breast cancer is their lack of access to adequate health care, their lack of access to physicians that are and their lack of access to physicians that are willing to deal with the physiologic, social, um, all of the things dealing with black people that black people have to deal with in order for them to, really make sure that they catch the breast cancer earlier, treat them correctly for it, whatever breast cancer they have. And that brings me to my next point. There, the medical field kind of chooses to ignore certain things about black women that um are, it's very important to pay attention to, especially when it comes to figuring out if they have breast cancer or not. And one thing about that is, there was actually a study that suggested that black women on average have denser breasts than other groups of women. um Even though that's the case, there's no major recommendation for uh if a black patient comes to you and they're doing a screening and they find that they have dense breasts on the mammogram, which is an x-ray type of screening, that there's no established um protocol for getting an MRI immediately when you find out that this woman has dense breasts, so that you can see really if she has a mass or not, um and there's actually a lot of studies that suggest that an MRI is more sensitive to picking up breast cancer in people with dense breasts. However, MRIs are not they're not included in any type of protocol for breast cancer screening, and they're not they're not even included in the protocol for screening women with dense breasts, or which are usually black women. So and that's not, once again, that's, I would say, okay, that's just a flaw in the system, that's just something we have to fix, that's just something we have to deal with. But there are a lot of people, the people who make the rules, the people who write the rules, like people who have learned the rules very thoroughly and know the implications of the rules that are in place and how they're not particularly helpful to black women. They know that, like a lot of them know that, they're just choosing not to do something about it. So I just want to kind of get that out there, like I don't another thing is, I don't think black women understand that breast cancer kills them at twice the rate of other groups of women um when they develop it. I don't know if a lot of black women understand that. A lot of times when because I remember when I was in high school, like the breast cancer people kind of came, um, and they were talking about how to do a self exam, and if you find a lump, you should go to the doctor and things like that. And I didn't take it seriously either back then, but nobody did. It was like a lot of people, I want to say at the time, didn't believe that it was a big deal for black women to catch breast cancer early. Like, just based off of my, growing up around black people, being black myself, it's not something that was ever really worried about. Even if you had like a family member with breast cancer, which is one of the criteria for being high risk, having a high risk of developing it yourself. Which that's something that non-medical people don't know, and something because only 3% of all practicing physicians are black. Like that's not something that happened. That's not a conversation that happens frequently in black households. It's just not. um but yeah, that was basically what I had to say about that. On a ending note, though, I would suggest that, if you do have a history of breast cancer in your family, definitely, uh you know once again, like I've mentioned in my last two videos, get established with a doctor you can trust. um you know Create a relationship with, physicians that understand what you're going through, understand who you are. um Preferably somebody who is, similar to you, or has the same experiences that you've had and things like that. But definitely, and then the main thing that I want to instill in everybody that watches the channel, everybody that listens: do your research. Like, don't just walk around not knowing things. Like, try to know everything. Like, that's that's my motto. Like, learn everything. Like, don't no information is useless. Like, especially when it comes to health and the implications that who you are, like just being who you are, has on your health outcomes. So please rate, comment, and subscribe. um and I will be back with another video soon. And good night.